Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Ron.
I'm Janel.
And you are day drinking with Ron and Janel.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we do best.
That's what we do. I mean, granted, it's the middle of the week. Generally, we start day drinking at like, what, 11:30?
On the weekends.
On the weekends? Because
during the week, it's like 4:15.
Yeah, because it's New York time. Right?
Yeah, it's East Coast time. Exactly.
But we are not day drinking alone.
No.
We have...
I'm going to try to say it perfectly.
Thank you.
Ariel Ceja.
You've said it perfectly.
Thank you.
Oh, my
I practiced like 14 times before you got here.
I joke, think the Mexican mermaid, roll that R.
Ariel, but I have a hard time with the tongue roll. But.
Well, the wine that I brought should help.
Well, welcome to the show, Ariel. ¿Cómo estás? What's up?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. This is so exciting.
So one of the things we were talking about a little bit before is that we really enjoyed the concept of this show, you know, having a drink with someone, being able to talk about what we're drinking about and kind of get to know them. And you are one of the most incredible human beings that we have ever met. So no pressure.
Too kind.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure to live up to the most amazing human being.
No, we were talking about your restaurant was probably one of the first that we ventured out to in Napa, because we haven't lived here our whole lives. We're not from Napa. And Ron's Puerto Rican. I'm from New York, and we are used to the diversity in food in New York. But when we got here, not to offend anyone listening, but there wasn't too much of that. And so when we got to your place, it was amazing, you know, and the different types of foods that you had, not chimichangas, not burritos, not your standard things that you can get in California, which are delicious. All of those things are delicious, but it brought something different and new to the table. So, and then we met you. Your personality is great. You're like the friend that we forgot we had, and then we're like, oh, okay, it's you. Like we felt like we knew you forever. And then we got to taste your wine and stuff. So it's just been like, we've been here 10 years. So I feel like, when was your restaurant opened? It was a while
2010.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, we signed the lease 2009, and it took us about 6 months to figure out what the hell are we doing. But I think around my mom's birthday, June 13th, 2010, we opened up.
I think we got here in like April of 2010 or something like that.
It was like right around
it was like right around that same time frame. So, that's where we met you.
Yeah, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
This exists out here?
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, being a Napa boy, of course, the high-end restaurants, there's a variety in terms of Japanese, French, Italians, but in terms of the fast casual offerings, there was kind of a monoculture of either, and I love my Tex-Mex, but it was really wonderful to offer comfort food that I grew up eating, not just Mexican, but also Peruvian, Argentinian, Cuban, obviously Mexican, and presenting it in a way that was playful, fun, and affordable for us locals was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it took about a year to figure out our concept, but after that time, locals and tourists alike kind of supported Bistro. So I'm thankful for you guys for coming as often as you did.
We did.
Oh yeah, I mean we would go as often as we could, and you know there was so much going on there. It wasn't just the food. There was the atmosphere. There was this vibe, and I think that's the one thing that really kind of gets us to continue coming to you and your family, is that every place you have, there's this vibe, and that vibe is infectious. It's like. We were talking about it earlier, how we went to your tasting room. We've been there several times, but the one time your mom was there and she had gotten her hair done, and she looked really beautiful, and she was talking about it, and I asked her where she got her hair done, and she was telling me all about her hairdresser, and she gave me like a discount card, like who he was, and she loves him and whatever. So like, where can you go to a winery and have that experience? Like, you can also get a referral and a discount off your next hair appointment.
Well, we're locals. We love community, and it's hopefully the product is good. And fortunately, at both Bistro and at the winery, or our label at least, the product is good. But having a great story to tell, having creating relationships, that should be the icing on the cake. Yeah. And we don't have a marketing budget. We come as a family of immigrants, of farmers. We don't come for money, and so when we got our start first in the fields, and then later on as vintners, telling our story and making those relationships was how we were able to, of course, make sales, but also something deeper than that, create these lifelong friendships with consumers and fans. And so I continued that, with Bistro. It was really heartening to see people come in and not just, excited to see us, but my staff, but also, I can't cuss on this.
You can say whatever you want.
You can say it. We can bleep it out. You're not live. You're not live.
I was going to say shoot the shit with my chef, as so many people used to. Is they would kind of nonchalantly go up to my chef's window and just hang out and have a conversation while we were cooking up lomo saltado or pan-seared salmon tacos or fresh seasonal salads. And that was really awesome to see.
I mean, it's just this feeling that you can't really explain or you don't really get in a lot of places. I mean, businesses across the board, doesn't matter if it's a winery or a restaurant or a movie theater, like every business is supposedly reliant on the people that work there having this personality that wants to make people come back. Yeah. But especially in today's day and age, it's very far and few in between. They're really banking on their product and they don't really give you that sense of self. But when we met your mom, she didn't know us. She never met us, and we were just people there doing a wine tasting. And by the time I left, I felt like I was gonna be like, "I'll see you at home."
Yeah, and you can't teach that in school. To be honest,
no,
or that's my opinion. You can't teach that shit in school. And also, if it was fake at all, I could see right through it. I think you could see right through it, and most people probably could. But it's not that at all. It's like a genuine feeling of just love and environment and family and humbleness and humility. Is that the right word?
It's both words work really well.
Whatever.
But it's amazing. And you mentioned the tasting room. So that is where you're working at the moment?
So, of course, we had the tasting room in downtown Napa for 8 years. We got the boot in 2014, and rather than renting out a facility in downtown Napa, because you put in, the small little fortune to build out a space that's not your own.
Yeah.
And the same thing kind of happened with the restaurant. We got the boot. So we're like, well, we could put in a little bit of money into a space that we don't own, but if you don't own the building, you don't really control your destiny. Or a space had come up in Sonoma, Shelville, where we were like, well, we could put a little bit of money, open up there, knowing in the future we're eventually going to have our own winery back in Napa Carneros. And so rather than spending $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 building out a facility that we didn't own, we decided to open up a little tasting room in Sonoma, knowing full well that will save up some money for the biggest thing we've been working towards is the actual production facility, and that fortunately is starting to come online.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a couple of years away we'll start construction.
And when you go to your tasting room, you have that big picture on the wall, right?
In downtown Napa, we had this beautiful mural, kind of the history of winemaking, consumption, but through the Latin perspective, through the other, through those that bust their ass in the fields and oftentimes don't get to enjoy the fruits of their labor, the vino. And so we had this beautiful, almost like 20-foot mural that we now actually have in this little chapel on our Napa Carneros property, the future side of the winery. We couldn't fit it, unfortunately, in the Sonoma tasting room, but when we actually build out the winery, we'll kind of take it out of that little chapel storage facility and display it in the brand new tasting room.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's a cool spot too, because you have your tasting room, and then you have what's the one? Starts with the T.
Troika,
and then Homewood across the
So you have this whole little community of things going on where people can stop to you and then go next door and go the other direction and have.
It's a great one stop if you're Ubering around Napa. You could spend the day there.
We did that the last time we
spent
went.
a day there.
We just Ubered over there, $12 from Napa, and it was we can get drunk.
It's a great Uber destination.
It is.
Yeah, it's a fun little corridor. You have 3 different wineries plus vodka as well with the Hansen family.
Yeah, which I know. And last time we were there, I didn't get a chance to taste the vodka, so we have to go back.
No, and they have a jalapeno vodka that I really want.
Really good with the Bloody Mary.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I have 2 bottles of that in my house.
We're day drinking.
So, speaking of day drinking, what's the first wine that you brought for us?
Well, of course, coming from Carneros, we had to start off with a gorgeous representation of a Chardonnay that we like to joke is kind of the best of both worlds. And we love our kind of Chablis, steely, minerally styles of Sauv Blanc, rather Chardonnay, but we also like richness and opulence. And so this is a Chardonnay that we do barrel ferment and then age extensively, but it's not kind of a butterball oaky Chardonnay, which we do enjoy. But my uncle, our winemaker Ariel Ceja, is kind of allowing this to complement whatever the hell food you're enjoying.
Yeah.
So think ceviche de salmon, a cocktail de camarón. And actually at Bistro Sabor, it was really heartening to see people enjoy our ceviche de salmon, our spicy shrimp tacos with a beautiful burgundy, a Cuban sandwich with a glass of Merlot. And
that was my favorite.
Well, why shouldn't Latin cuisine also get wine love pairing too? Why should it just be relegated to Spanish, Italian, French. And so it was really wonderful and joyous to see people enjoying Peruvian, Argentinian, well, obviously Argentinian with the Malbecs, but Mexican or Southeast Asian with a glass of Chardonnay, Pinot, Syrah, whatnot. And so, well, first and foremost, salute. Thank you guys again so much.
Cheers.
Can't daydrink without drinking.
Oh, yes, definitely. And this is so delicious.
So I just realized in this moment that I don't know how I could just do this for the rest of my life, but this is pretty fun.
This is definitely fun.
I'm just being honest. Talking to you, drinking, like talking about food, like it's just so cool. Like, and I know you have a passion for food, obviously at your restaurant, but I've also talked to you a little bit. I don't know if you remember, but we talked about stuff. I love food too. And I have like a passion for it as well. Just what you just said, like why does a glass of wine have to pair with like some really expensive steak or like foie gras? I don't know. I don't even know those things. I really don't. I can't afford to eat like that. But so I like the street food. I grew up in Brooklyn, like Italian American food that was cheaper to eat, but still really tasty. Yeah. And a lot of diversity, like I said before. So it's really exciting. So thank you for coming and thank you for bringing this. This is delicious.
And this is absolutely phenomenal. And I want to say that we've probably tasted everything or almost everything that you kind of had around, especially through like our friend Michelle, and she had like
she's got full stock on your whole
spread. She's got like everything. So we've been able to taste everything. And one of the things that we like about your wines, and a lot of people don't really know this, but like you don't have to spend like $500 on a bottle of wine and have it be probably one of the most delicious wines out there,
or even $100. You don't.
Like every time we get a bottle of your wine, whether we're spending $100 or we're spending $40, it is like it feels better than any other wine that we've had that someone be like, oh, I just opened this up, it's like $350, you should totally try it. And then we taste it and we're like, okay, well, we know some people that you need to talk to if you want to get some good wine. You can get a couple bottles for...
To be honest with you, like I was talking about this with Ron earlier, I didn't start drinking wine until I was like 30. I'm 40 now. So when I landed in Napa, that's when it started, and I'm officially a wino. But I still can't afford to go to some of the really pricey ones, like wherever. I don't know. There's a bunch of them out here. I'm not going to call anybody out like that. But I can't afford to drink that way. So I have to find wines that have a decent price point, like $30, $40. That's probably like a splurge for us, I think. So when 30 or 10 years ago, when I started drinking wine, I had this idea or notion that you had to be like a certain status in life to drink wine. I didn't think that was me. But you can just be like the average person, 25 years old or 20, whatever, in your 20s and still enjoy a glass of wine that you can afford. And it tastes really good.
We always tell our customers or fans, there's two types of wine. There's one you like and there's one you don't like. As long as it brings you joy, it's the most social of beverages. There is something ephemeral and magical about wine. You get one shot a year to make it, unlike beer or certain liquor where you can follow a recipe. Wine, if you have a crappy growing season, hopefully you have a good insurance policy because there's not much you can do to rectify kind of bad fruit. But if you have great fruit, and of course we're in a valley that's very consistent for the most part, there's something fleeting and beautiful about that one vintage. You have it, you enjoy it, and then it's gone, and then you experience next year's vintage, and that's wonderful too. But again, going back to that price point, we don't care if you enjoy. I mean, I don't want to say the $2 or $3 chuck because hopefully you're spending a little bit more money.
No, I can't even do that anymore. I used to be okay with it. I can't.
And it's fine if that's what you enjoy, and that's beautiful. But you don't have to spend $80 every time. There's wonderful value bottles in the $12, $13 to $20 range that are phenomenal, and it's just seeking them out and finding them.
Right.
And so as long as it brings you joy, and my mom likes to joke, there should be no obstacles to the enjoyment of wine. And unfortunately, some wineries do kind of put in these obstacles where, oh my God, this wine is $95. It speaks of the God. It's like, calm down. We're not curing cancer here. We're selling grape juice. Yes, Napa, Sonoma, it's some of the most expensive areas to grow grapes. Right. And then, of course, that cost is kind of passed down to the consumer.
Right.
But it's... people do get away with murder here in the valley. There's a couple brands here where I've seen bulk juice go to one brand and that same juice being labeled under something else, and where one sold for $50, the other one sold for $125. I don't want to say what, but I'm always like, Well, this other company that's selling it for 125, they probably have a better marketing program, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry.
Yeah.
And our whole philosophy is yes, these wines are between kind of $30 and $60. I think we're a bit more transparent. We price our wines just based off the cost of goods, because when you're selling wine at $500, $600, $700, you're only selling to a sliver of the population,
right?
And so to have your wines be a bit more accessible, I think is just better for consumers.
It is. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and we find a lot of times, we're 9 years into the wine drinking, and I think the more people that we meet nowadays, within, like millennials or people in their early 40s, they're always asking us like, oh, you live in Napa, so is it like everybody really snooty about wine? And we're like, no, it's like a great place to go enjoy wine. Like, I guess there was this like preconceived notion from like that was set in the 90s or the early 2000s, but like we found places, I guess we've been kind of spoiled by you and your family and a couple other really great places.
The other one that comes to mind is Cosentino, not to, pardon me, take the attention away from Ceja, but Cosentino, that was really good. And it was like a good price point, and it was really tasty stuff. So
it's like we really want people to know that like wine is a fun thing, and if you try to come out here and you get to one place and you feel like you didn't feel comfortable, you went to the wrong place. So this show kind of will guide you to the places that will nurture you and help you through, and you don't have to worry about being inundated with all these other things. Like every person that I've seen walk into your tasting room, either there's two ways that they're greeted. It's like, oh, welcome back. I can't, and I'm like, there's no way that you remember these people, but you do. And it's not just you, it's your sister's there or your mom's there. It's like whoever's there, like, oh, hey, welcome back. Oh, are these your friends from wherever? I'm like, how do you remember all these people? And then the other way is, oh, this is your first time. Oh my goodness, sit down. Let me show you something. And no, you're going to love this and you're going to love that. And it's like, I can't even tell you how much it costs to drink wine there because I never really think about the cost. I never think about how much money I spend there. I never think about the cost to do a wine tasting. All I think about is like, we got to get in our Uber. We're going to go over there and we're going to get some wine and we're going to have some fun. And it's always this amazing experience. And it's kind of like, how do you do that? Like you must really love what you do.
Well, it comes down to just genuinely being interested in other people. Everyone has a story to tell, and we really love talking and getting to know people, their stories, their thoughts, their family background. We can learn from everybody. And it's just fun. Having a conversation, with a glass of wine is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it is.
And of course, breaking bread is even better, having that combination. And so if we get to create these memories for people coming into town, first of all, we're thankful that people seek us out, or maybe they just stumble upon us, but at least they're giving up some of their time to hang out, enjoy our wines. And so we are incredibly thankful for those that take the time to do that. And so we don't take anything for granted. We're not distributed. You're not going to find us in stores or in other states. And so we rely on people coming in, enjoying the experience, and then hopefully shipping a bottle or two or taking it with them.
Right.
That's our sales program. And so, but again, we really give a crap about people and making sure they have a great time. I love getting noobs too, because, and invariably we'll hear, oh, well, when do you guys put the cherries or the guava into the wine? And I just give them a big hug, because a lot of times the younger crowds, they're intimidated at these other wineries.
Absolutely.
And they tell me, I felt stupid at this other place because they were treating us like crap or they were patronizing. But here you guys are silly, you guys are playful, we're enjoying the wines, we don't know anything about it, but we like how it makes us feel and we like how you guys are making us feel. And so they tend to open up and ask questions, and we can kind of guide them. And we'll have little things like wine wheels and aroma wheels and that kind of stuff. But we'll tell them the basics. Hey, all this stuff is fermented grape juice. Don't take it so seriously. It should be pleasurable, and that's it. And then, hopefully they left with a fantastic experience. And that whole, saying of, they might not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And so that is kind of us in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Because people do, they'll come to wine country and visit 10, 15 wineries if they're staying for an extended period of time. And oftentimes we'll get emails years later, we had this fantastic experience in Napa Sonoma. We went to all these different wineries, but you guys made us feel the most at home. You didn't talk down to us. You embraced us like family. We left on hugging terms. Like, that's awesome. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
I think sometimes some wineries forget they're in the hospitality business. And so to be hospitable is of utmost importance.
Yeah. I agree. That's exactly what we've been saying.
Yeah,
that's how we felt.
We anytime someone comes into town and they're like, "Where should we go?" We send them your way. We're just like, "Go here first. Go here first. Take a bunch of money, and then we talk about."
It's like he said. Like it is intimidating. First of all, there's so many wineries here. Like hundreds, right? Like multiple hundreds. I don't know. There's a bunch. And so when you first get here, like, and you land here, you're like, how do you even choose, So I think a lot of people, when they're staying, especially downtown, they'll get like word of mouth from people that they're eating dinner next to or whatever. We've had that happen where we're like, because we're talkers, obviously, we're talking. We like to do that. So we always like strike up conversations and we make our own recommendations based on the experiences that we've had. But it can be intimidating because there is this like, idea that wine is, I don't know, it's just it's like higher end or I don't know, bougie, too bougie.
Like, I think people don't realize that wine is, I don't know, for us it's kind of like I feel like we live in Europe but we're here. Like in Paris, wine is just like soda, like, or not like soda's terrible, but wine is just like water. It's what everybody has. And I think that culture, we're in this like shift where I feel like people are starting to realize, wine is accessible and wine is fun and
so delicious. And to speak to the Chardonnay that we just drank, it was delicious.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's food. First and foremost, It's food. It's people, I have friends that come into town, wow, you drink every day.
I do too.
Thank you for recognizing that. But also, or even like with bubbles. Oh, why do you drink champagne every day?
Yeah.
Because it's freaking delicious. You don't need an excuse to drink champagne every day. It doesn't have to be someone's birthday or anniversary. It brings so much joy to life. And again, it just tastes really good. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't I want that in my life every day?
No, sometimes I'm like, what's for dinner? I'm having wine. I don't know about you.
It is definitely one of those situations where we're like, what should we have? Well, I don't know. All I care about is, did we get wine? Okay.
Did you pick up wine on the way home? Yeah.
And, one of the things that I was thinking about when you were, talking about, when we were asking, you were like, hey, you got to come on the show. We got to talk. Is that you are so eclectic as like a person. Like, you're talking about your restaurant, you're talking about the winery, and then you also love music. Like, it's like in your blood. I was very fortunate. My mom's baby brother, my Uncle Tony, he, growing up as a kid, would drop off salsa CDs at my house. He'd gone to UC Berkeley and was taking these salsa lessons and just fell in love with the whole culture of the music, and so would kind of expose me to that. And so growing up, I'm sure I drove my parents insane because I played the same Celia Cruz, Marc Anthony, Tito Puentes CDs. And then, of course, when I started to study music on my own and just appreciate other artists, I fell in love with salsa romantica, Cuban salsa, and all sorts of genres. And so when we opened that tasting room in downtown Napa, it was just me by myself working there for like the first couple months. And Fridays, Saturdays, we were open pretty late, but it was always kind of dead. And this is in 2008. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start salsa night. Bring traffic in. I love the music. Maybe I can teach or something. And for whatever reason, it took off. There wasn't a lot of Latin music, really, even today, but back then there was, I don't think, any. Right.
And so we were able to kind of fill this void of having a wine little lounge, but then also this kind of showcasing the best of Latin culture through the music. And it kind of hit a nerve, and we became known as this kind of gathering area. And then, of course, when I opened Bistro Sabor, I was able to move Salsa Saturdays to the restaurant because I'm not going to lie, it did become a nightmare for me, kind of running back and forth, trying to manage the two. And so, plus we also offered beer at the restaurant. And so when that move happened, we were able to kind of expand even more so because not everyone enjoys wine. And it's just something like wine. It brings so much joy in my life. I always like to joke, my happiest time is being slightly tipsy and then dancing in a rueda. And if you know what Cuban salsa is, when you dance casino style or in a circle, it is the most fun you'll ever have. You have, say, 2 to 10 different partners, and the leaders are changing partners every 4, 5, 6 measures. And it's the most joyous thing in the world because you're giggling, you're laughing, you're goofing.
I mean, I've seen it on TV when people are in Cuba dancing that way, but I've not had the privilege of experiencing that yet. Maybe someday you'll take me there.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
Because you need to take me there.
Okay. I will.
It looks like joyous.
Well, we did launch a little website, dancepoppy.com,
Yeah.
in 2015. So now you really have no excuse.
That is true.
50 online lessons for free.
Oh God!
And-
that way I can dance by myself and embarrass myself in my own living room.
Well, you can do it in the comfort of your home in your pajamas,
Yeah.
and then come join us at one of the socials that we host weekly or monthly.
Because you
whatever.
post it on the website, right, where you're going to be at, and then basically people just kind of like migrate there, and then they all dance.
It's a primarily online portal, but then I'll help promote some friends' socials, or I'll also do salsa con vino at the Opera House. I haven't done any this year.
I didn't know that existed at the Opera House. That's
Their mandate is they have to offer 75, I think, community-oriented events every year. And so a few years ago, they approached me and said, hey, why don't you throw a dance party?
Yeah.
You're kind of known as the salsa guy here because of your history. And I was like, hell yeah. And so we produced, I think we've done 7 shows over the last 2 years. We'll bring in a band, of course, so live music, a DJ, classes.
what kind of crowd is it? What's the age range?
It's beautiful because it's all ages,
Yeah.
every race, culture, creed, and again, it's just something fun to do in Napa, which kind of at nighttime can be considered kind of sleepy in the dance department. And so they literally let me do whatever I want. We have this beautiful venue in that second story in the Opera House, and people cut a rug, and it's just really awesome to see a lot of locals, and also we get tourists that come out, but it's mainly locals, because they're craving something that is. Latin music, I guess.
Yeah.
And everything that comes with that too. So it's been really fun, and so hopefully we'll plan some more for next year.
Yeah, that would be fun. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I would love to go, and I know that
This guy can cut a rug pretty great.
you know, yeah.
He can
Well,
solve
you
the
said
dance.
Puerto Rican too. So.
Yeah, I'm a Boricua, in case you're wondering, and it's crazy because like you know, I never thought to myself, you know, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, Brownsville, East New York, and I'm like sitting here having this like amazing conversation with such an incredible human being drinking wine. It's like if
We were just talking about Celia Cruz. Sorry,
Oh yeah, we
know.
we totally did. We were just talking about Celia Cruz. In fact, when we drove down to LA, not this time but the time before, I was playing for the kids. I was like, "Oh, listen, this is Tito Puente. Here's some Celia Cruz." I got to meet them like a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
But when I was like probably like 15, 16.
You met legends though. I'm super
Oh,
jealous.
no, I know.
That's incredible.
It
I
is
know.
incredible.
Well, because like my uncle had a band, and then we were at this place in New York, and we were on the behind the scenes, like we're behind the stage, and they had like a fire pit, and then they were all just sitting around and just singing and hanging out, and everybody was together. It was like this real family event, and then there's this giant stage, and then there's like thousands of people, and I was lucky enough to be like on the backside
It's like
because
a
my
once in a
uncle's.
lifetime
That's so
opportunity.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's great. It was so fun. So, with the wine that you brought, what is the next one?
Of course, being summertime and hot as hell today, I figured rosé all day. I poured you guys a
Thank
fantastic Sonoma Coast Bella Flor.
This is so good.
Beautiful flower. Funny enough, this used to be called Bella Rosa, and then I think some damn cheese company in Texas sent us a cease and desist letter because they had one of their gorgonzolas or something named after
Really?
beautiful rose, and we're like, well, screw it, we don't want to mess with the lawyers for this right now. And so we did change this to beautiful flower, and then trademark that. But it is quite the beautiful flower. It's a dry rosé, but very fruit forward of Syrah. A little bit of Pinot Noir, just kind of brighten it up. And it's another summer fun patio pounder, as my sister likes to call it. Spicy food, anything kind of Indian cuisine. My girlfriend Monica, her family's from India, and so we love creating spicy dishes and then pairing it with this little guy right
So
here.
good.
And it's very refreshing.
Super refreshing.
So I
some of
completely
the
understand.
some of the rosés I don't love because of the sweetness. If it's too sweet,
Yes.
I don't really love that. But this is the perfect balance.
It's a wonderful balance of kind of strawberry, cherry, but dry the way, so there's no residual sugar, but that fruitiness just makes it so delightful on a warm summer day.
I can pound it on a
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I've made raspados or shaved ice out of this, and you
my
don't have to be
goodness.
all hoity-toity.
sounds
It was
so
a
good.
fantastic
That
experience.
Oh my
sounds
God.
Highly recommend it,
amazing.
yes.
That sounds delicious.
Lollipop rosé, come on.
A frosé. It's a frosé.
It's a frosé,
It's a
yes.
frosé.
Oh my goodness. Like I'm all sitting here all smiling. No one can see me because, you know, it's audio, but I'm like smiling going, ideas.
With like a fresh strawberry in it.
Yes.
Like,
Would you like another? I see an empty
Yes,
glass. Would
yes,
you like another
please.
scotch?
Oh,
sure.
yeah, a
Oh my
scotch.
gosh. This show is called Day Drinking, and it's
It
still
is.
daytime as far as I can tell. So
Mademoiselle, may you pass me?
But one of the things that we love, and this is why you're here, is because this is what it's supposed to be about. You know, if you're wanting to drink wine, and maybe you're someone who doesn't live in Napa Valley, you know, you're out there and you're trying to like look on the internet for wine and stuff. When your friends come over and you're tasting stuff, a lot of times, like when I was working in a tasting room, one of the things that people were saying is like, oh yeah, we have this like chart of how you should rate the wine and like which things you can go on. And I was like, why are you doing that? I was like, no chart, like just taste it and be like, oh, I really like this. This makes me smile. Yeah. You know, learn your palate, you know, and then try new things, right? Mm-hmm.
It's subjective, but that's the beauty of being, or at least having this beverage being subjective, because if all wine tasted the same, or if your palates were geared the same, that'd be super boring. Yeah. Be opinionated. You know, again, to bring joy, you don't have to, and I tell everyone, we're not going to make wine for everybody. As long as we make the wine we like to enjoy, if it resonates with most people, we've done our job. Yeah. And of course, maintain the quality and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the most subjective beverage in the world, and I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Just giggling to myself because I was thinking about how I used to watch like people on like a show that I would watch about wine tasting, and they'd spit it out, and I have not met a wine yet where I'm so just disgusted that I wanted to spit it out. Like, I don't know, I just haven't. It's all so delicious.
Well, remember, they spit it out because they're just tasting it.
I don't even know why. Like, why? You could still taste it, swish it around, and swallow it. I don't actually remember.
Do you have a spit thing at your?
We do. We'll get sommeliers or other people that work. They might be. Well, we have them as a courtesy, and people do ask for them because if some weekend warriors that happen to be sommeliers or wine buyers are going to 6-7 places, they don't want to get drunk because your tongue will absorb alcohol in and of itself, even if you are spitting. And so, to play it safe if they're driving, we do provide them.
Because I was going to say, because I know, like when I go to some wineries, you see them on every part of the counter, but I don't remember like going to yours and being like, oh, they're all over the
You were just awestruck by Ariel, and so you weren't even paying attention to the spit buckets.
Although hopefully, for the most part, people are enjoying them where they're not wanting to pour out or I guess spit out.
No, but I get the whole getting drunk thing, and I had a friend of mine say he was visiting Napa last weekend, and he told me his plan and he told me also his wine budget which was like thousands of dollars. I'm like, must be nice to be you. But he came to visit, and he was telling me the wineries that he was going to. I'm like, do you have a driver? And he's like, no. We're just driving. I'm like, how are you going from like one to the other to the other? I know he's not a swallower. I mean a spitter. Sorry. PG, totally PG.
We don't judge here.
He's not a spitter. He's a swallower. And so he's like talking.
That could be the next name for the show.
Spitter swallower.
We're swallowers, not spitters.
Yes. Spitter swallow. Sorry. I digress a little bit. But that just tends to happen when I talk a lot. And then the more wine that comes, it happens. But anyway, I was asking him, like, you should get a driver. He's like, no, I'll be fine. We like sober up in between appointments. I'm like, just go get a freaking driver. Like, just pay for an Uber. It's worth it. On a side note, I don't know how I'm getting into this conversation.
No, but it's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, like don't get if you
play it safe.
Yeah, play it safe. If you want to get drunk, get drunk. I'm all for it. Go get drunk. I love being drunk, but also like you should spare the expense of getting a freaking Uber. They're so cheap. You could hire someone for the day even. I don't even think that's that expensive.
No, it's really not. But when you're drinking though, what do you drink?
I drink it all.
Like, what's your favorite? Like, what's the thing? Like, when you come home,
wine, vodka, gin. Like, what is your favorite?
Whiskey.
I don't know much about whiskey or liquor for that matter, but I know I enjoy it. It makes me feel very happy. I enjoy all manner of beers. Wine is, of course, my go-to. But when tomorrow it's supposed to be 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll probably just be drinking cold-ass beer.
Yeah.
Nighttime. Not to say we won't start with bubbles or something.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it all. From Napa, little guys like Fontanella, Porter, Truchard. I like the big guys too. We, as a family, sell grapes to Mom, Domaine Carneros, Domaine Chandon, and Schaumsburg, and so of course we support all those guys. And so I'm not necessarily biased, or that's the nice thing about wine countries. For the most part, there's great wine or exceptional wine.
Right.
Everyone's making pretty amazing stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I dislike very few wines. And plus, different winemakers have different philosophies. So I might not appreciate it or enjoy it as much, or rather, I might not enjoy it as much, but I appreciate what they're going after, as long as they're kind of staying true to their philosophy. And so I'm these days, it can be anything. It could be whiskey, it could be wine, it could be beer. But these days, of course, with the warmer weather, a lot of rosé, a lot of Sauv Blanc, Pinot Gris.
I was gonna say that rosé is very refreshing.
Very refreshing.
Because it is very warm, and then all of a sudden, the Chard was delicious, loved it, but for some reason I felt refreshed.
Yeah.
after that rosé, I was like, oh, I could see.
Well, it's funny too because we started drinking like we don't typically drink rosé because like I was saying, it's a little sweet, whatever. We found a couple that we really like, but we've been drinking rosé more so recently. Maybe because of the hot weather. I didn't even realize it's the hot weather, but it's probably because of that.
I think there should always be rosé. It doesn't matter. I can drink it all year round.
The frosé thing, though, that's got to happen. Like this weekend, that's got to happen.
We're definitely going to have to pick some up and then put it and make it.
Do you remember those piaguas where they would just scrape the ice? We could just buy one of those.
That's what he's doing, the shaved ice with the...
That's so good.
Yeah, on the East Coast, it's called piraguas.
Piraguas, yeah. And there would just be like a guy in the corner, and he would just shave the ice and then dump like cherry juice on it. It was my favorite, or grape or whatever flavor you wanted. But if we had, why don't we have a cart with rosé and an ice scraper?
With a little bell just to notify.
I will stand in your parking lot at your tasting room and serve those on the weekend. I'm not even joking right now. That's a great idea.
And basically, all of the money would just go to you because we would just be enjoying the frosés.
I would be like drunk by the end of the day, but that's fine. That's a typical Saturday.
If it fits with the business model, I'm happy to hear it.
So, what are some of the things that I know you're very busy, right? Because you got all these things going on. But, like, what are some of the things that you do for fun? Like, do you try to get away from Napa? Do you experience Napa for everything it has? What do you do for fun?
Good question.
So, of course, being a local boy and working in retail, you kind of have to be where the people are since we're not really distributed. And so during the week, I work out of our Napa office, and on the weekends, I'm usually helping my brother at our Sonoma tasting room. Of course, evenings, the chance when I can get the heck out of town, because Napa unfortunately doesn't have that many offerings in terms of dance and that kind of thing, and so I do find myself more often than not in the East Bay or San Francisco. I just literally an hour ago, right before I got here, bought tickets to Isaac Delgado at SF Jazz Center, a Cuban legend, so I'm super stoked to see that. But it is kind of heartening, at least on the Sonoma side. My uncle, who taught me salsa, he does put on Salsa Under the Stars at Coppola, and so I got to enjoy that a few months ago when a buddy of mine, Edgardo Gambon, was playing over there. He teaches every Sunday at the Flamingo Hotel if you guys ever want to get your dance on and not drive too far in Santa Rosa. So I think it's right off 4th Street.
Okay.
But the East Bay has 4 or 5 nights they're doing something, whether it's in downtown or North Oakland or something like that. And so it's at this time, it's wine and dance. That's kind of the focus.
That sounds like the best life.
I'm very, very lucky. I'm super fortunate. Born into this hardworking family that busted their ass in the fields, and now we get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. People are always like, asking, we want to hear your story. I'm like, I had it easy growing up. My parents, my grandparents' story. The beauty is in the struggle, and so I had my siblings and I had it very, very easy. At least my generation, and so I think the generation before us and the one before that, that's where the beauty and the storytelling really shines. I guess it's our job not to screw that up.
Yeah. Well, you haven't. I mean, that's just my opinion. You barely know me, but I'm just saying, like, from a perspective of someone who doesn't know you from, growing up or whatever, just meeting you don't come across as like an entitled asshole. You come across as a really nice person, and the rest of your family does too.
Oh no, they're like every single time, like when we first met your sister and we first met your mom, it's just like, oh my goodness,
just
it's
cool people.
Yeah,
cool
like
peeps.
how, like where, like because you meet a lot of people, and I know you meet a lot of people, and we meet a lot of people. We're very talkative, and then you suddenly you meet this group, and you're just like, man, and then I look at my like my mom, or we'll be just like, good job, way to ruin it.
Why do you suck so much?
Not at all.
Just kidding.
We're just joking. We're just joking.
It's
just this amazing thing, and I think that to your point, like you were talking about how, respecting the struggle that came before you. I mean, that is what I think a lot of times some parts of our society miss out today. Like they forget what their parents had to go through so that they can have this, where the worst thing that happens to them is that they can't use the internet for a day because they're in trouble. So I think that's really noble. And I think it's amazing that, and it comes across, like you come across as this genuine human being that is just filled with this excitement for life, which I think is what draws us to you. And I think that when people come to your tasting room and meet you or your family, they're going to feel the same. They're going to be like, oh my goodness, they were not kidding. They're like the greatest people on earth.
I think that's what keeps people going back to their tasting room and buying their wine.
Yeah, because you're not distributed.
Well, again, realizing that we have it good. My mom literally was born in a mud hut. I remember going to the town where my father's from, Aguililla, walking down the street with my tias, my aunts, and one of them saying, "Oh, you see that dirt field?" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" "Oh, well, right over there." I'm like, "Yeah, that's where your dad was born."
Wow.
What? And so, perspective.
Yeah.
They grew up in abject poverty, and I did not have to experience any of that stuff. I'm glad the way we were raised, at least my mom, my grandfather was a secretary for the United Farm Worker Movement here in town. Just having and understanding what social justice is all about, helping other people, being kind, realizing that not everyone has it as good as we do. And yes, it's through hard work and busting your ass in education, but we're also very lucky. We're born in a time and a place where we had the ability to bust our ass for other opportunities. Most people don't have that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm incredibly grateful and try not to take most things for granted because I know how lucky I am.
Yeah. Well, and it comes across, and it's just from spending time. The thing that's really difficult to kind of get across, especially in just this show, is that when you meet someone face to face, you have like a few moments to really connect with them. And I think that, and I've been in customer service my whole life. I've been in retail for like 25 years, whatever the insane number is, because I'm so old. That's just something that like you can't teach. You said that earlier. Mm-hmm. You can't teach that, and that has to be inherent. And sometimes you'll go. I've been to plenty of wineries, and I've been on that person on that side where I'm pouring. I'm like, yeah, everything's awesome, but inside, it's just like I'm not really feeling it. I feel like there's this like genuine just happiness, and I just it's something you should definitely. People need to meet. People need to meet you, and they need to meet your family. They need to come out to your tasting room. They need to taste your wines. In fact, you just poured a wine. What did you pour?
Another wine. I wanted to change things up. Most people have not been exposed to cooler climate Merlot, and I figured this would be kind of a fun venue to showcase what a cool climate, food-friendly Merlot can taste like. We actually grow this where we also grow a little bit of Pinot and Chardonnay, and we taste this blind at a lot of events, festivals, and people are like, I love this. What the hell is it? I'm like, it's Merlot. Get out of here. Yeah. No, seriously. It's not manipulated beyond recognition. Unfortunately, out of Merlot in the valley, how it's grown, how it's kind of macerated and pumped full of other varietals to make it more robust, which I think is kind of unfortunate because it's a much softer, it's a more medium style body wine. Yes, it grows like a damn weed. That movie Sideways didn't help too much. Yeah. But food-friendly Merlots are life-changingly delicious. And like our Pinot can complement most dishes too. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to taste or bring a Sonoma Carneros Merlot that was still, yes, ripe, but not going to knock you over the head with crazy alcohol or crazy tannins.
So do we have to spin it first?
You can do whatever you want, as long as it ends up in the mouth.
Do we need to, is my question.
You can. Our wines, because they're not these kind of monsters, they do, of course, benefit from breathing. I did open this about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, so it should be good to go.
Bottoms up.
Here, let's cheers this one. Let's get another clink on there.
And I promise I will catch up to you guys. I'm still on the rosé.
Oh, he's on the rosé still. We're such drunks.
That rosé,
Oh my God. That is like just happiness in a cup.
Some underripe Merlots can be quite bell peppery. They can be quite green, which we don't care for. We still want the ripeness.
Is the right way to say it, some Merlots have like a bite to them?
That peppery bite?
Bite?
Yes.
This has fruit. That's all that I taste.
It has a judicious use of oak that's always in the background, and this kind of subtle red fruit or characteristics of red fruit really shine through.
So good.
And again, it tastes like a Merlot.
I think
good. The way a food-friendly Merlot should be, because some are just kind of these monsters, those wonderful Merlots. And again, I enjoy all matter of intense Bordeaux blends and that kind of stuff. But some of these wines, when you smile, your teeth are nice and purpley.
Oh, hell yeah.
I love those. We don't make that style of wine, though. These kind of fall on the softer end of the spectrum. Not to say it's better or worse. It's just the wine my uncle chooses to make.
Yeah, it's really, really delicious. This is probably one of the more delicious reds that I've had in a really long time. I don't drink
this
red
is
too
absolutely
much.
phenomenal. I can see how it can go with anything.
Thank you.
It can
good.
go with anything. I mean,
I'm not like an expert at describing like the blackberry hints of
No,
whatever. I'm not. This is really tasty.
No,
I
our
don't
job
drink-
is to be the person who's learning.
Yeah.
And then that's where we're
Well,
that
that's
person.
true.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
But also, any tasty notes, take them with a grain of salt. And
Yeah.
I always joke with our customers when they're visiting us, I'm super drunk when I write this gibberish down, these tasty notes. Again, you either like it or you don't.
Yeah, and I like it. I like it.
But there's like an aftertaste that is almost just as delicious as the actual. Sometimes you'll get an aftertaste, or like that kind of will be like, oh, okay, or it makes your mouth like super dry. Mm-hmm. But like my mouth feel, I guess would
Easy
be
to drink. It's very easy to just.
I'm salivating like as if I'm drooling for this.
When you smell it first, the smell of it is really
I
delicious.
know. It seems like I've run out on that one. Can I get another? What do they say? Can I revisit that one?
Let's do some revisiting.
Yeah, can I revisit that one just to make sure? Because I feel like I didn't get that one enough. But I mean, it's beautiful.
It's so good.
This is your Merlot.
It's very misunderstood, and so to present it in a way that's food friendly, accessible, and just yummy has been really, really cool. And we just added this to our tasting menu, and so people have been kind of blown away because almost every weekend, I don't drink Chardonnay, I don't drink any Merlot. Mm-hmm. Just taste it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I love this. It's not that you don't enjoy it, you haven't found one you like yet.
Right.
And sometimes it takes years. And so it's been really awesome to change people's perception for those two varietals in particular.
A few years ago, I was like hardcore Merlot. Mm-hmm. Like that's all I wanted. And then I discovered some cabs that were just like knocking me out. And I'm like, oh, these cabs are amazing. But this Merlot, definitely, I see what you're talking about. It's not your average Merlot. This is definitely something that needs to be tasted. And it's currently on your tasting menu.
Yep.
People.
I was just remembering when we lived in Arizona after we left New York. So we're probably like 25. We had bought this cheap house in Arizona because that's possible there. And we had a pool in the backyard. We got our robes on. And Ron's like, I really need you to try some wine. Because I never drank wine. I drank like Zimas and, the cheap drinks and whatever when I was young.
Four Loko, I'm sure.
Yeah, like that, all that crap. Yeah. So he's like, I really need you to just taste wine because he grew up in Napa. We met in New York, but he grew up in Napa, so he had like some kind of awareness of wine. And he brings me we thought we were super fancy.
My awareness though was when I went to the store, I only picked things that said Napa
and Merlot.
So that was the
Merlot.
Yeah, that was the extent.
My
of my
point is the Merlot part. Yeah. Like it was only like we just need to drink a Merlot and we've made it in life.
Yeah.
So he brings home this like $10 bottle of Merlot and I was like, this is disgusting. I'm not drinking this. And so that was like my perception of wine. Like at 25. Never drank wine before. I drank this cheap ass Merlot. I don't even know what brand it was. I couldn't even tell you.
It just said Napa on it.
It said Napa Merlot. It was like black and white, just like generic.
And it was made in Chicago, I think.
It wasn't even made in Napa, yeah.
No.
And then then I get here and I start drinking all this stuff. I'm like, this is not what I remember.
You should have just paired it with some deep dish pizza.
I should have. That doesn't exist in Arizona. It doesn't exist there. But
so how do you like? I know that your uncle's the one that kind of like puts everything together, and he's the mad scientist behind it all. But like, what do you like when he gives you something? Because you probably get to taste stuff. Like, they use a thief, right? You like just pull it right out of the. I can't remember what that thing's called, but...
Well, first and foremost, any winemaker worth their salt should say, wine is made in the vineyards. You grow the best possible fruit that you can, and then you don't muck it up in the cellar or manipulate it so much. And I think my uncle does a good job of not doing that. We are farmers first. We came up... working in the grape fields. And before that, it was, my dad still has horror stories where he says the worst stuff he was ever forced to pick was peaches in the Central Valley when it's 120 degrees outside. And you have that crazy fuzzy stuff getting into every orifice imaginable, just kind of being miserable doing that stuff. So when they came to Napa, they were like, oh, this grape stuff, oh, you can turn it into alcohol? This is way cooler. But they recognize farming is key and farming is everything. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of bizarre to have a business model based on the sun, which is kind of insane and crazy if you think about it. But being in a region that's very consistent to ripen, develop, and harvest this beautiful fruit, and then kind of lending your touch, your artistry. Think of the winemaker as a chef. Hopefully you have the best ingredients, the grapes, but then the type of oak, how you ferment, how you stabilize, all that stuff is going to dictate the ultimate flavor profile. And so for my uncle, he always starts with, hopefully the best fruit. And if we don't like the fruit for a given vintage, we'll sell it all. We didn't make Cab or Chard or Pinot every year since we've been doing it for 30 years because he didn't feel the quality was the best. And so he sold it all. And that's totally fine. But for the most part, we've made wine every year since 2001. And his whole philosophy is it kind of goes back to wine for food. Keep the alcohol moderate or lower. We don't pick early, but we pick when this concept bricks. Sugar at harvest is in kind of balance with the overall ripeness and acid. And those are the two most important things because wine that lacks acidity to us, we like to joke, it's like drinking milk. It's not very inspiring. Wine needs both overall ripeness and acid to be in harmony. But the type of oak that you might want to use, that's going to kind of add flavor profiles or otherwise. And so his whole thing is I'm going to grow the best possible fruit and then not manipulate it beyond recognition. Yeah. But I'm going to have it food friendly, low alcohol, nice acidity. And he's kind of been making all of our wines that way. And so he, as a farmer first, recognizes that his job is to grow the best possible grapes and then gently evolve that in the cellar, which he's been doing pretty damn well for the last 20-some years.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, you're talking about like the core of it, because I've been at a winery and I've worked there and they'll have a grape and the winemaker will be like, we'll just make it into this. The idea that you're like so committed to just the core, the fruit.
Yeah.
That's admirable.
And most people, I feel, are doing that. They might have a different take. Some wineries use exclusively American oak, which tends to be slightly more aggressive. Some use exclusively second fill or French oak or whatever. The beauty of it is to have a point of view. Be subjective in your winemaking. But if you have great fruit, your job is easy. You can't make great wine from crappy fruit. You can screw up good fruit, but if you have great, wonderful grapes, your job is real easy. But then it gets fun to put your own stamp, liquid art, right? Poetry,
liquid
emotion.
Art.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If I had known this was a job, I would have definitely, like UC Davis or whatever, they have the whole winemaking.
It's arguably one of the best schools in the world, for viticulture and all
Yes, viticulture, I didn't even know that was an option.
Oh, I know. I mean, like I said, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the ghetto.
No, so did I. I'm not ghetto-ish, but ghetto.
If there was tracks in Brooklyn, I grew up on the one side and Janelle grew up on the other side. And I'll let you guys pick which side was the good or bad.
I was not a privileged Brooklyn girl, but a little different.
But I bet there was a grapevine that extended from both tracks, and that's what brought you guys together.
That's what brought us together. Yes. So do you ever think to yourself, like for you personally, I mean, I know that you might want to get back into another, restaurant or might work more with Dance Poppy. Mm-hmm. But do you ever think to yourself that you're gonna find your own fruit and your own stuff and maybe do your own wine?
I haven't considered it too much. I'm digging the fact that I'm not involved in production right now just because I don't have the time. It does fascinate me, the chemistry, the science behind it. But I think I'm better suited for the hospitality side, the sales sides of things. Eventually, I might pursue that. But I also studied film in college and got to work in the industry for a little bit. When I was living down in SoCal, I fell in love with, obviously storytelling to me is the greatest job in the world. Yeah. Making anything. Wine is a form of storytelling, or making wine is a form of storytelling. Mm-hmm. But that visual medium for me is something I'd like to pursue as well. And so I'm kind of just figuring stuff out as well. When I got booted out of Bistro Sabora, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of lost for a while. For a year, I was just kind of bumming around. I went back to school online to learn how to code and do web development. I suck at it, but it was enough to launch Dance Poppy. Mm-hmm. And so if I can tell stories through dance, help my family, in this wine business, and then eventually either open a restaurant or maybe commit myself to filmmaking, that would be pretty cool. And the reality is I don't know right now, and we'll kind of see where it takes me.
I think every time that I've gotten to talk to you, I learned something new about you. I didn't know that you were into filmmaking, and I've had several conversations with you over the course of how long?
8 years?
Yeah, you may not remember the ones that you've had with me, but I remember you. And I didn't know that about you, so that's just interesting. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new.
And my crush just got even more hardcore.
Ron is swooning over
I'm
here.
swooning. I mean, there was already a bazillion reasons why everyone should love Ariel, but like now I'm like, oh, I'm in the film too. Oh my God.
He is in the film. We were just talking about. Have you seen John Leguizamo do his storytelling?
I was so lucky to see Latin History for Morons in Berkeley when he was here a few years ago.
Jealous. Oh my God, that was amazing. And we saw his other stand-up.
Yeah, Ghetto Clown and everything.
Yes, all of his
I love
stuff.
him. I love him so much.
He's like our favorite. He's our favorite.
So I did some stand-up comedy over the last year.
Yeah.
And my dream is to do because I like doing my stand-up comedy, but I feel like I'm doing like 5 jokes in 20 minutes because my 5 jokes, it's a story. So I I don't want to be like, and then that's why this. So like my whole thing is like eventually one day I was like, you know what? I don't think my medium is going to be doing stand-up. I feel like my medium is going to be more like a tell a story. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about you. You're so like, and it's not just you. Like, do you and your sister ever like get to like pick different things and like compete against each other for wine? Like, I'm gonna put this wine together, and you're gonna pick this wine, and I bet you I'll sell more of mine than yours.
She's much prettier than I am. Oh my God. So when it comes to crowds and being spokesperson, she gets to take that cake. I don't mind being in the background either. I might come and truth be told, I'm kind of shy. I usually.
Are you really?
It's not. Well, I'm comfortable, and I've spoken in front of large audiences and done presentations, that kind of stuff. But that's not something I seek out. If I'm asked to participate in something where I'm relegated to a speaking role or something like that, I'll do it kind of reluctantly. But I don't mind being in the shadows. Or
but your sister's the opposite.
Her and my mom. Oh my goodness, they're the stars for sure.
So why don't you tell everybody what your mom and your sister's name? Because like the last time we were there, they were in that
we got
paper.
We got to meet his sister. And
we got to meet the sister and the mom.
Separate, they might have been at the same time.
Yeah, but they were on the cover of that magazine where they had the
well,
dresses.
I'll present him as my father likes to say. He likes to joke. There's 3 problems. I'm the middle problem. My older brother Navek, he manages the Sonoma Taste Room, and then the youngest problem, my sister Dalia. She is our director of sales and marketing. Of course, Amelia, our mom, is the little tour de force, the visionary, the president. And together they do handle most of the kind of sales and marketing duties. But they've been on, magazine covers, interviewed from CNN to, actually we're pretty lucky. I think my family, along with the Robelos, we were one of the first wineries on the front page of the New York Times. Wow. After Mandavi graced the covers, I think from like the 60s or 70s.
Wow.
They had a story on Latino Mexican Americans kind of coming up, obviously from Mexico, busting their ass in the fields, and then kind of now having their own wine labels. And so we were featured along with other prominent Mexican American families here in the Valley. But that's all because of my mom. She has a great relationship with writers, producers, and has been able to inspire not just women of color, but anyone who's overcome obstacles and is kind of has a dream of being an entrepreneur and having their own business. And so she has this wonderful connection with people that want to make something of themselves. And so she's been wonderful not just to have as our fearless leader, but also as a mom, as a role model, as a person who inspires us too.
She cares about people.
Yeah,
she does care.
She's like, I don't know if this is, because to me it sounds like it's something like super grandioso, but she's like a tour de force. Like she's
That's
like.
What he just said.
Did you say tour de force?
We like to joke also, she's not small, she's compact. I think she lies by 1 inch on her driver's license. I think it says 5 foot, but we all know that's 4'11". Come on.
But she definitely is like a person who is, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like you really need to come out to the tasting room and.
Well, she's not there all the time.
No, I know she's not there all the time, but like just go there and like feel the vibe, feel the energy. Like they're just so. When she's talking to you, you're just like
magnetic.
Yeah,
magnetic.
Yeah, like I like when she was like when we were there and she was talking to us, I was just like, "You've adopted me. Thank you so much."
I just wanted to go behind the counter and like give her a hug.
Yeah, well, we got hugs before she left. Yeah, before she, because I think she was in and out. She was like, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" And then she's like gone. And then, but it's like it's a very rare thing. We've been here for let's say 10 years. And in that time, we've gone to hundreds of places. We've done thousands of things. There is a reason why we picked you for this. I'm not kidding.
No, that was like you were the first person that I thought of.
There has been no place that has had an impact. And we're talking Arizona, LA, New York, there's no place that we've ever been to in all the places that we've traveled, and we've traveled to quite a bit of places, and Janel was all over Europe. And in all those times, we've never met a family.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, we've been everywhere. We've never met a family that's so incredible like you and your family. And we really want to just shine the light and just put the spotlight on you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. I don't know if you're wrapping up. It sounds like you're wrapping up, but I was like trying to feel the vibe of a wrap up. Like, are you wrapping up? Okay, good.
You're
I felt
getting
that
good
right.
at this.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting good at this.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm incredibly grateful for you to say those wonderful things about the family. And, first and foremost, we're locals. We're part of the community. And I'm just very appreciative and grateful that vibe comes across.
It does.
So
It's very
in
obvious.
a very genuine way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't even imagine like it coming across any other way. And like I said, when we've been there, we're doing our own thing at your tasting room. New people are coming in left and right, and you're giving this attention, and it's almost like you're creating music. Because you're all sitting there, you're talking to these people over here, and then you're like, oh, I didn't forget about you. Let me come over here.
I was going to say, it's weird that you go to music as a reference. I was going to say it's like watching like your favorite artists. Like for me, it's like Lady Gaga or Ariana Grande or somebody who has like a big voice where you're like, they make it look so easy. It's probably not that easy to be that talented, but when meeting you guys make it look easy to just be like who you are and be
it's
warm.
Jazz,
and
baby.
you're warm.
Figuring stuff out on the fly. We don't know what the hell we're doing.
It works.
So let everybody know where they can find your stuff. So is it dancepoppy.com?
Dancepoppy.com for Cuban salsa or rueda.
And then for your tasting room?
And cejavineyards.com for all things related to visiting us. Actually, family recipes. We got about 30 recipes, mama's recipes. So cejavineyards.com/recipes. And you can print or watch the videos as well, and purchase, of course, and we can ship it or pick it up. Come visit us.
Yeah, and you have this amazing wine club also that you can become a member of.
Yes, the Casa Ceja Wine Club. We offer 3 different levels: Vinum, Cantus, Amor, 3, 6, or 12 bottles per quarter. We have these fabulous pickup parties if you're local, or we can ship it out to you 4 times a year.
All right.
And I'm telling you, if you just let them pick the wines and you just consume them,
They're all delicious.
they're all delicious. I know that like it's hard to get the flavor of the wine through an audio podcast, but let me tell you,
it's delicious.
yeah, and especially if you're one of those people who, like me, I'm a big Cab Sauv fan.
Yeah.
Like that's just where I want to be in life.
Yeah.
That Merlot, ridiculous. Chardonnay was so delicious. And that rosé was like, oh, I want to go sit outside by a pool and just pour myself rosé all day.
Yeah.
I can spray you with a hose, even then. It's hot out there.
Do not. Don't tease me. I would be like that guy wearing my shorts with the ripped shorts, where the little flare on the bottom, and I just pour
That's a good look. That's a good look.
No, it's not. Don't lie to him. Don't lie. He'll do it.
So thank you so much for everybody for listening, and can't wait to be back with you guys soon. And this has been Day Drinking with Ron and Janel.
Yeah, and I'm a little buzzed, so thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
guys so
Ariel.
much. Cheers.
Thank you.